Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are around this fine world. We're here for another special edition of Diary of a Double. This is the year-long journey of Antonio Argüelles of Mexico City to swim from England to France, rest no more than 10 minutes, and then back to France. That's 67 kilometers of swimming. Welcome, Antonio.
Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, wherever you are, as Steven said, in this beautiful world. It's a pleasure having you here with us. So I guess we have an interesting topic today, Steven.
Over here, everybody wants anything.
If we could ask you to, yeah, there you go. So today's topic is about alcohol, and it's a topic that is actually rarely discussed in the swimming world, although many adults do partake in the beer, wine, and spirits afterwards. And Antonio is a classic example. Antonio is working very hard, extremely hard. His workouts are beyond incredible, but he gets out, has a nice meal. And Antonio, what is your hydration after a very hard workout?
Well, you have to take it carefully, Steven. You can't just go to one thing at a time. So I always usually start with Herradura Blanco, a Corona beer, and I didn't open the bottle, and that is like a snack. You know, in Mexico we have something called botana. So before you start eating, you have a snack. So I usually have my snack with my Herradura Blanco and my beer, and then when the main meal arrives, I usually have red wine, and I enjoy a bottle of red wine, and afterwards it's we have to have something, you know, just to bring everything in balance. So I usually have a single malt.
Got it.
And that's the current maximum that I allow to myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was worse, but that's what I do right now.
Yeah. Now put this in perspective, Antonio. You grew up in Mexico. You enjoyed swimming tremendously. You found your way through a lot of creativity and hard work to Palo Alto. You studied your way into Stanford, where you were a double major, and then you had your first drink of beer. Is that correct? Did I get that timeline correct?
Yes, I was such a nerd, Steven, I have to admit. And as I tell it in my book, you know, my first beer I had when I was a senior at Stanford. Before then, I had never drunk. And to me, it was really, you know, when I left to the States, living in Mexico, this was in the 70s, mid-70s. So I came back from Montreal, from the Olympics, and I tell my mother that I'm gonna go and live in the States. So you know how moms, you know, always want to gossip and say things to other moms about how to raise their children. So they come to my mom and say, look, I mean, Antonio's gonna go to the States, and three things are gonna happen. Number one, he'll probably marry an American, so he'll never go back to Mexico. You're gonna lose your son. Number two, he won't go to a private school because I was going to the German school. So he's going to a public school. You know, Los Altos High was tremendous. I enjoyed it a lot. And third, he'll be involved in a state where it's famous for sex, drugs, and alcohol. So, you know, can you imagine the lectures that my mom gave me before I left? So I arrived, yeah, you have to be careful in all the different areas. And there's a scene in the book, well, when the first time I go to a jacuzzi party, and suddenly I'm in a jacuzzi party, and I thought I was going to the jacuzzi but I said I didn't bring my swimsuit. He said, no, we don't go with swimsuits into the jacuzzi. I said, then I'll go. I wouldn't go. I'll stay out. But what was really amazing is to see a lot of my friends in high school drinking and experiencing with other stuff. But I never even drank or it was involved in anything else until Jaime Serra, who later became the Minister of Trade and then of Finance. He's famous for he negotiated NAFTA, and he introduced me to my first beer. And then when we came back to Mexico, this was in the early 80s. We used to work. All of you, if you know Mexico City downtown has a lot of restaurants. So the restaurants around Mexico City downtown, they all offer Mexican food. You know, it's not like these days that you have all this cosmopolitan food in the rest of the Mexico City. And so, you know, I had been out for 8 years. So one time, and I asked for a beer, and Serra says, "You just not have beer. I mean, you have to have something else." And I said, "What is something else?" He said, "Let's have a tequila." And I said, "Well, I've never drank tequila." So he introduced me to Herradura Blanco, and later to mezcal. And so my tastes, as I grew older, it started getting better and better, I would say. Then later in when I was undersecretary at trade, I discovered wine, red wine, and about 10 years ago, I discovered single malt. So it's been an experience through life. I've never made it very good with champagne. Champagne and myself don't get along very well. So I stayed away from champagne, but you know, we have a video, and you'll see what happens in our trips. But eating and drinking is always a very important thing for me and for my team.
I have so many questions, but there's one that I want to ask before we show your video, and that is, Antonio, you train in aquatic park in San Francisco. The water temperature ranges from 11 to 14 degrees, so it's in the 50s. Or you train in Acapulco, where the water temperature is above 28 degrees or in the 80s. Do you drink differently after, let's say, a 3-hour swim in aquatic park and a 3-hour swim in Acapulco Bay?
No. Standards are standards, Steven. You know, the standards are worldwide. I mean, you can't change things. I mean, imagine that I would change that. My body would say, "What's happening?" I mean, it's bad enough about the water temperature, but you never stay. You know, when I travel, I travel always with Herradura Blanco, and before we had these restrictions on airplanes, what I used to do is put in a water bottle, put my Herradura so I could drink it. So I could drink it on the plane. So this is very famous anecdote, because I leave my bottle of water, you know, my tequila bottle there, and Jimena thought it was water, and Jimena just goes like this, and he just spits all over the place. And Jimena wasn't very happy with me doing that. After that, she understood. I mean, she was about 12 years old, and she understood that she couldn't drink out of my water bottle, my special water bottle. Yeah. Now she knows that when we go to a trip, now they can't take it. So when we go to restaurants, we always bring our special Herradura Blanco water. And since it's like water, nobody says anything.
Well, again, I have many questions, but why don't we show your video of your workout last week?
Okay. And Maria Paula is here. Maria Paula is the photographer.
Okay.
Quinn, there's no audio.
How's that?
There you go.
Hell Week was an idea that came upon Rafa and myself to try to come to La Jolla for the whole week and do 2 workouts a day. So we decided we would swim 2 hours in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. And when I thought about it, I said, well, it'll be March, at the end of March. Probably the weather in La Jolla is going to be nice weather. And basically, we're going to do a lot of kilometers in the water. Hopefully, not as cold as it has been in October, and November, January, or February. And I'm very glad that none of that happened.
Estamos en la semana 32 y nos faltan aproximadamente 18 semanas para llegar al gol de cruce del canal. Lo que estamos haciendo ahora es lo que llamamos el tercer ciclo del año de entrenamiento, son 4 ciclos, es una semana especial que le llamamos semana de campamento, que es donde estamos simulando las etapas de cruce del canal inglés. Es un entrenamiento simulado donde tratamos de probar psicológicamente, físicamente, en qué estado se encuentra del entrenamiento para poder evaluar y modificar o continuar los tipos de entrenamiento.
After a week of Hell Week, I feel very comfortable and I feel that I have achieved more than what I asked for at the beginning. During these 5 days, I got all the different climates and situations that might happen in my double crossing of the English Channel. Probably the only thing that's going to be different is the water temperature. The average during the 5 days was 14 degrees. Never got warmer than that. So in terms of working in cold water, it was a superb training session.
El tercer ciclo que estamos haciendo es un ciclo muy duro por el volumen de cargas que tiene, la calidad de la carga que tiene, el entrenamiento es muy fuerte, y vemos un Antonio que va creciendo semana a semana en su performance deportiva. Es impresionante lo que está haciendo. El nivel que está teniendo es muy alto en estos momentos, está nadando muy fuerte, está mentalmente muy preparado, entonces eso nos hace decir que por lo menos este ciclo lo vamos a llevar muy bien y bueno, encarar la próxima etapa, que es una etapa de afinamiento del trabajo hacia el canal inglés.
Now, the other thing that was really interesting is that I got all the different oceans that I will get. I got from a beautiful day where I was swimming really nice. That was the day Scott Richards talked to me, and that morning as well was a beautiful day, very flat. So I could develop some speed and do a lot of speed work. So then on Tuesday was really bad. The wave we had very big waves, and what Rafa called them waves of the ocean. These waves that are created not by wind but by the motion of the water body. And as I approached the pier, those were bigger than 2 meters. It was really complicated. I have to admit that I was scared to see myself in that situation. And rather than going back to the cove and then to the shores, which was my usual route, I said I got to get out of the water. And it took me about half an hour to be able to get out of the place where I was, almost stationed, and then another 12 minutes, 13 minutes to get out of the water. So that day, obviously there were no kayaks and no other swimmer in the cove, and that was a great workout. It was a great mental workout, and it was a great physical workout. The mental part is that I had to use all my experience in the water to do 2 things. Number one, do not panic, because the things weren't looking easy to me. And number 2 is have the patience to overcome the situation and get out of it. So that was something that it was a great experience. In all days we had choppy oceans. That we had some waves. On Friday we had to delete our training for about an hour because the waves were really bad in the morning. So I got my share of complicated ocean, complicated waters with wind and with waves. But I think that's what matters is that I did every single one of the workouts. We achieved what we wanted. The only bad thing is that my ear hurts a little bit. It has been hurting since Thursday. Yesterday I swam with fear that it would hurt more, but I have an appointment on Monday, and hopefully my ear will be okay.
Dios, cada vez que venimos a un nado aquí, sobre todo en La Jolla, la pasamos muy bien. La pasamos muy bien por varias cosas. Una, el entrenamiento en mar es máximo, digamos, porque nos encontramos con el medio natural donde nos gusta estar. Antonio como nadador, a mí como entrenador, pero también nos encontramos con un montón de amigos de las aguas abiertas, gente conocida que se puede dialogar, donde nos saludamos, donde se intercambian opiniones, y es muy lindo estar en esta comunidad de nadadores de aguas abiertas, es precioso. La verdad que se pasa excelente, más allá de los entrenamientos duros, que hay que levantarse muy temprano, hay que levantarse entre las 3:30, 4 de la mañana, hacer trabajos de fuerza, prepararse psicológicamente, prepararse mentalmente. El agua está muy fría, está a unos 14 grados, estuvo abajo de 14 grados, nadar varias horas, volver, cuando uno no termina de estar seco, se tiene que tirar al agua nuevamente, y eso es un desgaste físico terrible, pero por eso decimos que mentalmente está muy bien, porque soportar esta cantidad de cargas de entrenamiento es difícil para cualquiera, ¿no? Pero bueno, ahí vamos vamos en muy buen camino.
Well, another nice thing about this trip is that we're starting to put the team together, working together. This time Rafa was here. Maria Paula, who's a photographer and makes all takes the great pictures and makes the great videos. And also Jimena, and she came to me with a surprise that she wants to get a wetsuit because she wants to follow me into the ocean.
Yeah, so I would say I'm the land crew. My main job and most important job is to scout the restaurants we're gonna eat at. It's those of you who know him, for him the food and the wine and the whole experience after training is just as important as the training itself. So that's my main job, but also I'm always here as support. We work together, so that brings part of he doesn't have to 100% disconnect from his work when we're here. So I'd say those are my main jobs, and just accompanying him. It's funny, when I think about what I feel with the double crossing, it's for some people it was a surprise, but I would say for me it was definitely not. I always knew that there was going to be something else, that he was going to, I joked when he was training for the double of Catalina that he would start doing everything double. And well, we now see this double crossing of the English Channel is going on that way. And yeah, I guess I'm happy for him. He's pursuing his dreams. He's happy, so I'm happy.
Cuando empezamos los nados, Antonio tiene que estar muy concentrado. Empezamos con una entrada en calor que nos dura aproximadamente una media hora, la tenemos muy determinada como es, con variantes, y tiene que ir muy concentrado, y en el medio del camino se nos cruza un nadador conocido de aguas abiertas que nos empieza a gritar: es Antonio Argüelles, es Antonio Argüelles, y lo alcanzó nadando, y se tuvo que parar Antonio para platicar con él, pero bueno, son las cosas que pasan en una comunidad así tan linda de aguas abiertas, pero bueno, toda esa concentración que tenía Antonio, que venía entrando el calor, etcétera, la tuvimos que suspender y hacerla nuevamente porque bueno, tuvo que saludar gente en el medio del océano, es increíble esto. Y la otra que nos pasó, bueno, el kayak se ponchó y a 2 kilómetros de la costa se empezó a hundir. Y entonces tuvimos que remar muy duro, porque llevábamos los equipos, María Paula llevaba sus equipos de fotografía, y muy duro hacia la costa, porque teníamos que estar, creo que no duramos más de 10, 15 minutos como mucho llegar, porque llegamos con el agua al cuello, literalmente con el agua al cuello, remando nadie sabe qué, porque era el kayak era una cosa hundida ya. Muy gracioso. Aventuras que se viven en el mar.
One of the things that was really interesting also is that, as you know, La Jolla is famous for its sea lions, and especially the little ones. They are very playful. And during 2 of the workouts, I had company. In one, I had company in the middle of the boat, and he was, or she, I don't know, was with me for about 15 minutes, and we're just playing. I mean, and I was trying to reach her or him, and he was just going around me. So we were enjoying the ride. And then another time, there was one following me all the way until I got out of the water. At the end of one of the videos, you can see him or her that's close to me, and he just followed me all the way to the coast.
I'd just say he's an example of what perseverance means, of what discipline means, of what chasing your dream is. He sometimes doesn't have it easy, but he makes it look easy. He's definitely an example for all of us who are chasing our dreams and something else, that no matter what, you never give up.
Great. Great. Just so everybody knows, Antonio, explain to people that were in there, Jimena, Coach Rafa. So we have some people here who haven't been following you for the entire year.
Jimena is my daughter. She's 29 years old, and she finished her MBA, and she came back to Mexico, and she's been working with me at the consulting firm we have on education. And since the beginning of the year, she became the CEO of the firm. And but she's as she says, since she was a little kid, she loves eating as much as I do. So we share that passion, and one of her main jobs is to get us where to eat. And I think the team is always very happy that she's chosen for that. Maria Paula, who you see with her glasses and purple shirt, she's the photographer, and she's the one who usually accompanies us and made the video. Rafa is my coach. And then you saw the people when they were sitting around. There was a Catalina, when we were in Catalina, is Ariadna, who is my doctor, Ricardo Duron, who is, we work with him, Rafa and I work with him in terms of about my swimming technique, and he's always the one who does math to me, muscle activation technique. And Jaime Delgado, the guy with the beard, he's my mental coach. So when we go in May, we're probably gonna have the whole team together as a preview of our trip to England.
Great. And I also noticed when in the film, you took a lot of pictures of your food, and you had a lot of sushi there, but you didn't mention sake. I was wondering, did you miss that, or is sake sort of thrown in at the Japanese restaurants that you go to?
No, Saka, the Japanese restaurant, they're very kind with me at the Japanese restaurant in La Jolla. So we always have sake. That's the day I changed Herradura Blanco for sake. When I'm in a Japanese restaurant, I love sake, Steven. It's so nice, sake, and so we drink sake, and we bring also wine. As I said, it's you have to have your botana and then your real thing.
Got it. And I did notice that Ned Dennison, who joins us from Cork, Ireland, had a great bit of advice that I had actually I've never thought of, but it makes sense. And for those people who are going to drink afterwards, especially in Ireland when the water is largely cold most of the time, you're shaking, and sometimes that glass bottle will fall. And Ned, if you could unmute yourself and give the advice that you shared in the chat room, that's brilliant.
Yeah, we tend to blame the person with the glass or porcelain mug. They're still holding on to the handle, but the mug has hit you in the side of the face as it flew away and snapped. So we use plastic after cold water swims.
Got it.
And Antonio, I have a question for you, and maybe it's a different answer for San Francisco, and maybe Suzanne can help. But I personally find alcohol before a cold swim makes it much, much colder. So I would never have alcohol before I'm getting into 8-degree or 46-degree water, because I'm that much colder. Maybe Suzanne has a view on that as well.
I share your same view. I don't think it's a particularly good idea as far as trying to keep your body warm. I think that there's something physiological that goes on when you drink alcohol beforehand and you get a bigger drop. So yeah, no drinking before. Warm fluids though, and Antonio has tried this before we get in the water. To get in the water warm is very helpful. Not out with alcohol.
Yeah, no, I never drink alcohol before I do a swim.
Well, we have Dr. Brian Finlay on here. I wonder if he would know the physiological reasons why if you drink before a swim, especially in cold water, you do feel colder.
I love that, dude.
Go ahead, Brian.
My PhD is in science, not a medical doctor, although like everybody else, I've taken great interest in this area. And I'm pretty sure that it's a matter of the dilation of blood vessels. Suzanne's nodding there, and I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. So you dilate the blood vessels, improve the heat exchange with the outside conditions, and down goes that core temperature too rapidly.
Yeah. I knew you would have the answer, Brian. So anyway, the other thing that I want to address, and I've seen this change rather dramatically about 2 years ago, especially here in the United States. And that is when I was first introduced to channel swimming and ocean swimming here in Southern California, there is no way Penny Dean and all of the people who really drove the Catalina Channel community from Dottie York to John York and his colleagues. No way would alcohol ever be a part of training in any way, and certainly not on a boat, and that remains true. However, in 2019, one of actually Quinn Fitzgerald's colleagues, a graduate of Yale University, a woman by the name of Meg Gill, actually created this company called Golden Road Brewing. And it was a very popular brewery in Southern California, and it grew. It was later acquired by Anheuser-Busch, and in 2019, Golden Road Brewing became a sponsor of USA Swimming. I was shocked how USA Swimming for decades, generations, have shied away from alcohol sponsorship, any relationship whatsoever. And now USA Swimming not only accepted the support of Golden Road Brewing, but also invited it to do all kinds of stuff at its Olympic trials. And for me, that was shocking. But then I was thinking back, and I realized that when I first started to get into swimming, there were no master swimming. There was no adult swimmers. You swam until high school or perhaps college. And, in my era, women swam until basically they were high school seniors. And men, if they were, so inclined, could swim until college, simply because there was more opportunities for men to swim in college. And then you quit. Mark Spitz quit when he was a senior in college, and they go back. But then dial forward, and we have master swimming, a lot of adult swimming now. And with adults, you come, the enjoyment of beer, alcohol, and harder drinks. And so I've seen these two trends come, and then all of a sudden in open water swimming, we've had a lot of older swimmers join in the last 20 years. I'm talking older by my definition is people over the age of 50 and above. I mean, Doc Councilman back in the 1970s, he was considered an extremely old man at the age of 58 when he crossed the English Channel. Nobody could imagine that a 50-year-old man would cross the English Channel. And now, if you're 50, people are saying, oh, when are you going to do a double? When are you going to do your second one? When are you going to do the Ocean 7? So we've seen all of these demographic changes occur. And I wanted to throw this out there and ask people, what do you think about this movement or this merging of swimming and at least acceptance of alcohol? I think it's fascinating. Go ahead and unmute yourself and just raise your hand and make a comment if you wish. Go ahead, Pat.
Hi. Well, as a nurse, okay, I was a nurse for 43 years and I worked 5 of those years in drug and alcohol. So there's a lot of people out there that do have issues. And I do respect people that will drink alcohol responsibly. About 20 years ago, one of my family members had issues with alcohol and went into rehab. And I told him I would never touch alcohol again. And it's been over 20 years since I've had a drop of alcohol, even though I've never had a problem. But I don't encourage alcohol. But if someone wanted to celebrate after a swim, I'd say go for it. But just to be on the cautious side, because there are a lot of people out there of all ages, all walks of life that has tremendous issues with alcohol.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's my 2 cents.
yeah. So Pat, of the, at least in the United States, the data that we have, you know, upwards to 30% of all drowning deaths are related to alcohol. Now, there probably, I would assume in those cases, there are a lot of boating accidents and other things where people are drinking and fall off the boat or what have you. But you're right in that, you know, there is risk involved. And I think, but in this conversation, we're talking about, you know, experienced swimmers, and we are drinking responsibly. And Quinn, maybe when you do the little thing, put, you know, drink responsibly in big
Exactly.
letters before. Tina, you had a comment? Oh, unmute yourself.
Okay. I have a question for Antonio. Hi, Antonio. So clearly you don't, you know how Pat, you're talking about some people have a problem with alcohol or an allergy and they can't stop. But Antonio, my question to you is, clearly you are very functioning and very above functioning. You swim, you're amazing, your times. Have you ever said to yourself, okay, I want to beat my time by 20 minutes. So for the next 3 months, I'm not going to touch tequila or beer or wine, or no? Have you not done that? Have you not said that?
No, never. No, why for? Well, I mean, when you're doing open water swimming, you know, 20 minutes is irrelevant. I mean, it's just you know, well, if you know, when I was in high school and when I was in college and I was competing in a pool, as I said, I was a total nerd. But after I stopped, you know, swimming competitively, you know, I'm very competitive still, but I would never change my eating or drinking habits to be, you know, I put a lot of time with strength, with workouts, with technique. That's what I know I can improve my times. But I have no desire ever to change my eating or drinking habits to be faster in the channels.
I like that.
Yeah. Tina, you do raise a good point though. And that is an assumption that if you drink, you are getting slower. However, we also saw photos of Antonio's meals that he eats. And one thing that we know is Antonio is really slimming down. His body fat index is improving, and he eats extremely well. So, I mean, the amount of nutrients that Antonio is getting, even though he's had these great meals, the meals are not of you know, poor nutrition. They're
Right.
very highly nutritious meals, at least from the photos that I've seen in the times that I've had the great fortune of eating with Antonio. Right, Antonio? You do.
Yes, indeed. No. Yeah. You know, I just try to get away from the obvious. I mean, you know, for example, one thing I stopped doing is eating French fries. That I did. That is something that I found that was not being helpful. So I stopped eating French fries. For a time, I was like the Cookie Monsters. I was a French fries monster.
Mhm.
So those small changes to me are more important than the drinking or eating, as you would say. It's always a question: what is properly? It's what is proper. Proper is on the eye of the beholder. And for me is, I'm going to be 62, April 15th, tax day. So you can't forget my birthday.
Mhm.
And it comes a time in your life when you have to decide what you really enjoy and what you really love. And one thing I do is many years ago, I decided I was just going to do the things that I liked, that I enjoyed. I had to suffer many years of trying to do things that usually I enjoyed it, but there was things that I would have done it. So that's my motto now. It's I do what I like and what I enjoy, and I live with the consequences.
I like that. Thank you so much. And you're right. It's like, I think I was projecting, if I drink a little liquor, I'll feel sluggish possibly the next day. I haven't built up that nice tolerance like you, but I like that you say, as you're 62, you celebrate life and you know your limits, and you cut the French fries out. French fries might have made you feel sluggish. Your tequila might make you feel powerful.
Quinn and I have had some nights of previous drinking nights before swimming, and we've never felt bad, Quinn, have we?
Absolutely not, Antonio.
Antonio, I have a question for you. After a 3 or 4 hour workout, you finish the workout, really hard workout, how do you replace your fluids?
One thing, Suzanne, is I try never to miss my fluids when I'm swimming.
Okay.
One thing that's really interesting is when I do a 3 hour swim, I drink probably about between 600 millimeters and 800 millimeters of water and Pedialyte. And every hour I have an Axe gel. So even when I do a longer swim and I finish, I'm not even hungry. I mean, my whole goal is that when I swim, I will keep my body really stable. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that I do now differently since I started the season is that I have protein after I finish a workout and some grapes, like a little bit of food. But I do not. We've talked about this. I've never, let's say, I won't go and drink just water or Pedialyte, and then I just feel fine after swimming and whatever comes next. We have a Saturdays when it's a long swim. Sometimes we go and have chilaquiles. You know chilaquiles? Chilaquiles is tortillas with a green sauce or red sauce, and if it's really good, you put some chicken and 2 eggs on top, okay? And that's for breakfast. And then to be really level out, you have herradura blanco and beer. And that's breakfast of champions.
Yeah. Sorry, Antonio, what I just, in my box, my Zoom box here, you and Pat are right next to one another. And when I think about, and Ned, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think I'm right. When I think of swimmers, all the marathon swimmers in the world, all the channel swimmers of the world, I can't think of 2 people who maintain the same pace throughout their swim better than you 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I look at, Antonio, your first kilometer swimming and your last kilometer swimming, that time differential is minimal. And same with you, Pat. And I was wondering, do you have something special, or how do you, we've been talking about Antonio and how he trains and hydrates and etc. Pat, you're the same way. I mean, they start you off and you're just steady.
Yeah. Well, I've been changing my training routine where I've been really working on speed work. And I'm getting faster, but for some reason, I do go from the beginning of my training to the end of my training, it's the same speed. And I'm hoping, like when I do Anna Caper in September, that I'll have much faster time. But I'm 70 now, so we'll see. But I really truly believe by mixing up a training session, because for years and years, all I did was the same pace. I could swim 3 to 10 hours in a day, and it was always just a comfortable pace. But now I am pushing it, where I'm really picking up that speed, and I'm hoping it's going to pay off. So we'll see.
Yeah. And Pat, remind me, how many swims have you done that are around or over 24 hours?
I did 2 that are over 24 hours. Lake Ontario was definitely the toughest one. That was a beast of a swim. And I'd recommend it to any marathon swimmer to give Lake Ontario a try. It's a tough one.
Yeah. So Antonio, going back, the training that you're doing between, I think on the video it said you have 18 more weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything radical than what you've been doing up to now?
Well, a little radical. We're going to La Jolla again on April 11th, and we're going to have 4 days of double swims again, 3 hours. One of them probably is going to be at night. And then on May 13 and 14, we're going to go for 24 hours. We're going to swim for 24 hours with stops. I mean, the idea is that I'll be up 24 hours, going in and out of the water for 24 hours. We're going to start at 11 o'clock. Rafa and I have discussed this because I need to get psyched about it. I mean, I need to think about it. And we're going to start at 11 o'clock and then go from 11 till 1 o'clock, and then again at 7 and 11, and then sometime around 2 or 3 o'clock again, and then until we reach again 11 o'clock. And so we'll be going in and out of the water. And you know what, it's, as Rafa was saying in the video, you haven't finished getting out of the water, getting dry, getting warm, when you have to go back in. That's a tough workout.
Yeah.
It's probably tougher than Hell Week.
Yeah. And I in my Zoom box here, I see Ned Dennison next to Rafa, 2 guys who do incredible coaching jobs. So Ned, if people don't know him, he's the creator of Cork Distance Week, where he does training swims very similar to Rafa. But Ned, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I do. I think the 24-hour thing is more of a mental thing than a physical thing. I used to say that for relays, what you really want to do is you want to swim for 70 minutes, the team, and then you want to get in the back of a white builder's van with tools on the floor. And you want to be in that van for about 50 minutes while somebody's shaking it. Then you want to get back in and swim for another 70 minutes, because it's the uncomfortable part in the back of the builder's van that's building your mental toughness, not necessarily the swimming. But Steve, you moved off alcohol very quickly. And I wanted to just say, if 5 people from the South End Rowing Club want to go for a beer after a swim in the bay, no problem. If 6 master swimmers at the end of a gala want to go for a beer, no problem. Catalina is smart that they bar alcohol from the boat. The English Channel does not. So you could end up with seeing your crew on top of the boat having a beer while you're swimming. And I think that's really bad. And then as far as US Masters having an alcohol sponsor, fine. But think about US swimming for the kids. They've had the workout and you're now with the coach outside or in an indoor table, and the coach is having a beer while he's talking to the 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. Something wrong with that scene in my book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't want to go all the way with this, but kids see their parents drink. And drinking is all over the place. what I think it should be, and at least that's what happened with me, with my parents, is just learn to drink responsibly. And I think that's the big question. How do we make people, as Pat was saying, understand that you have to drink responsibly? And some kids, some of us do it and some don't. And that's, to me, that's the question. But let me tell you my dream, Steven. If I finish the double crossing of the English Channel, I have a dear friend of mine who has promised me he couldn't do it because he had something that prevented him from going to the Catalina Channel, the double crossing. His daughter was born, so he had to cancel coming with me. But he had a bet with me, not a bet, he had offered me that if I finish Catalina, he would be at the beach with a mariachi band. And a table full of Corona and Herradura Blanco. So he couldn't go. I said, well, you promised that. I mean, you failed. Okay. Said, yes, Antonio. His name is Rene Martinez. He's a triple crowner, Rene Martinez, and he's the guy who we're going to do the WOWSA Awards in Jalisco. So he said, I promise you that I will be at Shakespeare Bay with a mariachi, your table with the Herradura Blanco and beer. So that's, if I have an incentive to finish back and forth the English Channel, is that I want to be in England, as we did in Union Square, Steven, remember that? The same way, to have a mariachi band waiting for me at Shakespeare Bay. So that's something that I'm enjoying just thinking about it. It gets me very excited.
Yes, that's very good, very good. And that will happen, as most certainly. Going back to Ned's point, when at USA Swimming, certainly Tina, when she was, Christina up in the, made some comments and questions earlier. She was what, 13 and 14 when you were on an international trip and going, and way back, I don't remember when, but I know every American athlete has to sign an honor code. And that honor code says many things. You will represent yourself, your team, and your country in an honorable way. You can't do certain things, obviously take drugs, go out beyond the curfew, whatever the coach says, and alcohol also. So I think USA Swimming, although they have accepted a sponsor, and the sponsor will actually be at their Olympic trials where there's many kids, I think they're going about it in a way that hopefully is responsible. I'm sure it's responsible. It just, it's interesting that this radical shift has happened over the last 2 years. And we didn't see the impact of that last year because of the pandemic. The partnership with Golden Road Brewing started in 2019. And all of a sudden the next major season was entirely canceled. So we'll see the impact of this as things start to open up, at least here in the United States. But you do make a good point. Anybody else have any comments, questions, anything?
Well, Steve, 1987, when we were in the international, the competition, FINA World Championships, you're right. And I was older, I think I was 30, and we were not allowed to drink, which was a bit odd because, you know, culturally over there, you know, you go to the dinner and it was being held in France, and everybody had, except the US athletes, had a little bit of a drink. So some of it was cultural, but even at 30, I was, you know, obviously I was old enough to drink, but as an athlete, we were not allowed to drink.
Yes. Sometimes in the FINA, where they have the FINA competitions, an international group of people, and there is alcohol there, and, you know, the Americans are grabbing water without even knowing you're an American. Somebody will say, American, I see.
American.
Because
Yeah.
you've got a Coke in your hand or a bottle of water in your hand while everybody else has something else. So yeah, those examples do occur.
when you mentioned that international trip representing the United States of America, you're there, you're in Turkey, and yes, Steve, we sign all these things, make sure we stay inside, the rules. But what was funny, and I'll never forget it, is I'm 14 years old, and our chaperones would be in the hallway in Turkey at this university with bottles of vodka sitting there outside our room, getting wasted. I'm 14. Those are the swimmers that are 16 and 18. And so the chaperones were not doing anything that we were supposed to be minding. It was right in front of us.
Yeah, I know.
Big
I mean,
confusion.
Quinn, you were over in Russia where you won the.
A quick comment, Stephen.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Back in 2002, that was when I made my channel attempt, 20 hours or so. I was 59. And for 2 weeks before the swim, I cut out all alcohol. I was just drinking green tea, which was what I was focused on. And my support guy that was with me for that whole time didn't tell me until afterwards that he suffered from gout. And so we ended up on my swim, and for the final stages of the swim, he was unable to stand up on deck because he got such pain from his gout, from all of the tea that we'd been drinking for the 2 weeks prior. So when we got out, we celebrated with Guinness, Ned, but 20 hours in salt water, my throat was so sore for the following week, but it didn't stop me drinking a Guinness.
No, Brian, you know what's
Yes.
the best for salty water? Just do the following. One herradura
That was
blanco,
in salty water.
one herradura blanco and half a bottle of red wine. The pH comes back again. It smooths. So you won't suffer anymore. That I discovered, that's a discovery I did.
Yeah. We talk about drinking and swimming, but also drinking and swimming in cold water, I would think is the absolute biggest taboo. But up in Murmansk, where the World International Ice Swimming Championships were held, Quinn Fitzgerald had never swum in water under 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and Quinn is all of a sudden in 0 degree Celsius water, nearly freezing water. He swims to 50. He wins it overall, but the night before he was doing what, Quinn?
Well, so first of all, I was treated like a celebrity, and as a representative of WOWSA, a lot of fanfare and ceremony, and part of that were these elaborate 3 to 4 hour dinners with the mayor of Murmansk and all of these Russian officials, and it was all very formal. And part of the Russian tradition is to give lots of toasts. So every 10 minutes, the dinner would be interrupted, and someone would get up and say what a wonderful event it was. And the custom was to cheers a shot of vodka. And there were bottles of vodka on every table. And I had to give some toast, and everyone around me gave toast. And by the end of the meal, we'd had maybe 10, 12 toasts, all of which concluded with a shot of vodka. And this was the night before I swam in freezing cold water for the very first time. And it would have been impolite to not partake. I looked for a kind of way out of it, but it was not possible. And so a lot of drinking in Russia, obviously, and that's part of the ice swimming culture and community. And since Antonio brought up single malt Scotch, I'll throw something out there. I would love, if anyone is interested, I would love help organizing, and maybe Ned, you can point me in the right direction, an open water stage swim of Islay, Scotland, combined with a distillery tour. This is a lifelong dream of mine. So if anyone wants to join me and help organize that, I'm on board.
Yeah. That reminds me, Quinn, when I swam in the Tsugaru Channel, the northern part of Japan, the local mayor, he's quite happy, and he shakes my hand and he goes, tomorrow you're coming with me to Sapporo. I said, oh, okay. And so we get to Sapporo, and I had never been to that particular city, in the capital of Hokkaido in Japan. And he says, I must take you to the museum. And I said, oh, okay, I'll go to the museum. I said, oh, it's a museum of Japanese history or culture. No, it was a Sapporo beer factory. And so the gift that I received was an all-day tour of the Sapporo beer factory.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
Sapporo is a great beer.
Yeah. All right. Well, anybody else have anything? A last call before you close the bar?
So I have no takers for a Scottish distillery tour and open water stage swim. You can.
I said yes.
Okay, Antonio's on board. Ned, do you know who I should talk to?
Jan is also on board. Chris is also on board.
Okay, great. Can't wait, guys.
You've already got your agenda.
Yeah, definitely. I'm knowing Ned, he already has it.
Yeah. Well, thank you much. Thank you everybody for participating and taking part of this rather unusual topic, but I enjoyed listening to everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Happy birthday on Tuesday, Antonio.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Everyone have a nice Easter.
Take care.
Bye.
Nice to see you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.